A little after, so we'll get started again. And I will once again turn it over to Mr. Mullen for a report from the Human Resources Committee.
Okay, thank you, Mike. HR Committee met last week on May 3rd. First item on the agenda is update on the high deductible health plan and health savings account option. Chris.
All right. Am I unmuted? All right, awesome. Okay, so based off of our last Human Resources Committee and actually at our last board meeting, we had talked about the high deductible health plan and the HSA option. HR and payroll are moving through working with Diversified Benefit Services. Diversified Benefit Services is currently our HRA and our COBRA vendor. So we are reaching out to them to see if they would be able to accommodate however many employees decided to join the HSA, the health savings account, and the high deductible health plan. Right now, Diversified Benefit Services offered to do a few meetings with our staff to really reinforce the information that the district has provided. And in the past, the HR committee has shared out to the board the information that's in your board packet right now, the FAQ. We also have a number of videos that are from different sources that outline the high deductible health plan, the HSA. So Diversified Benefit Services met with our staff last Wednesday, May 5th, for a presentation. We had 22 people that were signed up to participate in that video, very high level, explaining what the HSA and the high deductible health plan are. And we have another meeting set up this week, this Thursday, for our staff as well. And lastly, on that topic, HR and payroll met today to work out those logistics on how that HSA information or monies will be distributed to employees, whether they have a single plan or they're looking to enroll into a family plan. So we're still working out those logistics. Our goal is to have that done later this week and then be able to communicate out with staff as soon as we can after those logistics are ironed out.
Do you know for offhand how many have signed up to attend the next meeting?
Not the next meeting. I could get that information for the board and share that out. It's a general Google invite, so people can sign up as we do, because it was sent out to the entire staff. But yeah, we had 22 sign up, and I believe there's 19 that participated last Wednesday.
Chris, a useful tool on the FAQ for what can the money be used for? The IRS has a publication called 502. It's about 30 pages of alphabetical listing of various medical expenses. Maybe you've already looked at it, but it's a pretty useful tool on what's a qualified medical expense and what's not.
And yeah, that's actually a really good resource, Dave. I did share that out with an employee that was looking for that information. And we just got word through the HR group that I'm part of, the Society for Human Resource Management. They just shared out what 2022 would look like for HSA dollar amounts and that list. So haven't dove into it yet, but new information is coming out for the calendar year, January 1st of 2022.
Any other questions or comments on that item? Next up is the discussion and possible action on 2021-22 teacher intern positions, DPI intern program, WIP.
And on this topic, Ryan Ruggles will be leading off the conversation. And in your board packet is a memo that outlines the teacher interns.
All right, thank you, Chris, and thank you, members of the board. Chris was happy to present last week while I was coaching some baseball. And as he pointed out, we have some updated parts of the memo. We just wanted to give you a little bit more information about what that's going to look like within the classroom. And I have some K6 colleagues that are here tonight that are going to share with that lift as well. I just wanted to start by talking a little bit about the Wisconsin Improvement Program, and that is the Wisconsin Intern Program. Because I think there was some questions around that program. It is an excellent opportunity for school districts, educator programs like UW-Whitewater, which provides the majority of our student interns, and the Department of Public Instruction to collaborate around preparation of our future teachers and to really work with those future teachers and give them some flexibility and some good options in their own career path. So what the WIP does is it pairs promising student interns with experienced cooperating teachers in a semester-long clinical experience for school districts. So those student interns have to go through a pretty rigorous process in terms of qualifying for to become an intern. And UW-Whitewater has a very experienced and great person who has some good ties here to Milton, who runs that program for us and has been a great relationship with us in the district here in Milton. The teacher intern solutions really it offers some solutions to some challenges that lots of districts have around providing students with additional student contact when implementing instructional blocks, or whether it's multi-age instruction or split like classrooms. It could be providing additional instruction and progress monitoring via the MTSS process. So it gives districts options in terms of providing additional opportunities to students. The principals are going to talk more about that. But again, I want to mention that a big part of this connection here with UW-Whitewater is just establishing that positive partnership and making sure that we are a destination district with new teachers. And that as we bring on the interns, and this is their first look, and they're working with some of our best and brightest here in Milton, and we're putting our best foot forward. That really establishes us as a go-to district for lots of these brand new teachers that are coming out of, whether it be their internship or whether they be coming out of their student teaching. So I'm going to ask John to step up and talk about what the intern program looked like this year, because we saw a lot of success with it. And we were really happy with the results. And he's also then going to talk a little bit about what that is going to look like next year. And that's going to be a little kind of different than how we started up this year.
That's right. Thank you, Ryan, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. So just to kindly briefly recap how it went this year with the interns at Northside, we'll start there and then talk a little bit about the game plan for next year. So we were fortunate to host 8 teacher interns at Northside this last year for each semester, and they quickly became valuable members of our team. The model that we had in place where interns were able to observe, collaborate with our homeroom teachers in the morning, and then be able to replicate those lessons with a different group of students in the afternoon really worked well for all involved. It provided our interns with scaffolded support before teaching lessons independently on a daily basis, as well as providing greater flexibility to us as a school to then meet the needs of our virtual learners in both small group and whole group settings and try to zero in on some of the specific skills that our students need. I can say we were certainly impressed by all of our intern candidates this year, all 8 of them. Their dedication, knowledge, and professionalism cannot be understated. They were really top notch, and we were very fortunate to have them. And I'm positive that the experience that they gained will have a big impact on communities around us and the students that they impacted this year. So looking to what we're looking to do next year for 21-22 is we're looking to continue that partnership with UW-Whitewater and those intern candidates here in our district. Really, the goal is to have greater flexibility to be able to meet the needs of students. So much like how we're utilizing that release time to meet the needs of our virtual learners, what we're proposing is partnering them with teacher leaders in our district that have additional licensure, 316 reading specialist or math training, to then allow those individuals to work with students that need intensive intervention or support. So that's in a nutshell what we're looking to do for next year, but really view that it's a win for students and staff by having extra hands here to work with our students during the day. It's also that partnership with teachers and university to kind of foster innovation and collaboration and making sure we're abreast of best practices in education. And lastly, I think it's a great benefit to the district. We have the cream of the crop from Whitewater and surrounding institutions that are coming to us, and I really want to just emphasize again of what quality these intern candidates are. They are really just a student teaching experience and one coursework away from being licensed educators, and we were really blessed to have this semester. So.
Can I ask a short question?
Oh, please.
Yeah, it'll be brief. So these seven can be utilized anywhere in the district, not just your side, is that right?
So each building has has to do the paperwork for their intern, and it has to be related to the right level in terms of their certification. So they could be utilized anywhere necessarily in the district. It's based on who their student teacher is and then what their assignment is for each school.
Okay.
Now, if I can clarify one thing that members of the HR committee maybe remember from our committee meeting last week, I think I misspoke at the committee meeting. I had shared that intern is a step for people after they've student taught. They could do an intern position, but it's really in lieu of student teaching. So the interns aren't people who have already student taught. It's candidates who have applied through the process at UW-Whitewater to be chosen to, rather than student teach, to serve in the intern process. It is a competitive process through UW-Whitewater, so typically the prospective teachers who are chosen to be interns are ones who rise to the top. So I apologize. I believe that I misspoke at the HR committee meeting.
Ryan, I think I missed that. Did you say that there's going to be one at each building or not?
There's going to be one at West, one at East, one at Harmony, and then 4 at Northside.
4 at Northside.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Jen, did you want to speak to the use of the intern at the elementary buildings?
Sure. Just quickly, this year at Milton East, just this past semester, we do have one intern who, just like John had mentioned, very high quality candidate. She's doing an excellent job. Actually just secured a job in another district last week, so that was good news. But she was freeing up one of my licensed reading specialists who's a first grade teacher. And so that reading specialist was providing intervention to students for half of the day, but then spent the other half of the day with that intern in that classroom. Is there any questions about that? It's been a great opportunity for both staff and students, as well as the intern.
I had one more. Okay, just one thing, that's okay. So part of our game plan for next year is the goal of providing that release time for our most talented and highly trained staff to be working with our most in need students. So what we're proposing isn't that the intern candidate would be working with our most at risk, that instead they'd be taking the reins in the classroom after having observed and collaborated with teachers in the morning, but then allow those teachers with additional experience, training, or licensure to be working with those kids in most of these. So I just want to make sure we clarified that, whereas this year we utilize that release time to support our virtual learners.
And this is brought to the board as an action item because it is adding staffing with intern positions. As you saw in this proposal is coming to the board as a recommended motion because it would be adding staff. It would be funded through ESSER 2 funds. It would be that if the board does make a decision to approve that recommended motion, it would be for the coming year. It wouldn't tie us into any long-term spending beyond the coming year, and we would have to revisit that if there was something that we thought was a valuable proposal beyond this coming year. So what we're proposing and bringing to the board is the recommended motion to approve hiring 7 teacher interns for the first and second semesters for the 21-22 school year as presented.
I will make a motion to approve
Okay,
the
just
hiring.
ask something quick. Is there any compensation for the lead teachers since they have that extra responsibility for a year instead of just a semester?
Allison, if it show that we were live, you can use the mic. It says the mic isn't working. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, bro.
That's a great question, Shelley. So part of the fee that we pay all goes to, part of it goes to state and part of it goes to the university. And then it goes to the student, the intern as part of kind of their compensation for their work for the year. The qualified teacher does not get paid, whether they have a student teacher or intern. But what we have talked about as an admin team K6 is how can we recognize that? We had some folks that have stepped up and, as we approach folks, say, hey, you would be great in this role. And I mean, really, we approached them because it was an honor, because we saw them as great leaders, and all have been very appreciative of being approached. But we've talked about how can we recognize it in another way. So we're looking at giving them some additional hours in August to meet with their interns, as long as we approve today. So that way they'll be able to make a little bit extra money in August and be well prepared for this school year. Small gesture, I know, but it was something.
I know some districts just do small stipends sometimes for people who are taking student teachers, so that's what I was asking.
Yep.
I will make the motion to approve hiring 7 teacher interns for the first and second semesters of the 2021-2022 school year as presented.
I'll second.
There's a motion on the floor made by Dave, seconded by Leslie, to approve hiring 7 teacher interns for the first and second semesters of the 2021-22 school year as presented. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. And opposed, nay. Motion carries.
All right, thank you, Ryan, Jen, and John, for the information on that. Next up is the 2021-22 support staff compensation.
Okay, and for this agenda topic, during the HR committee meeting, we touched briefly on that we're continuing, and when I say we, I mean Carrie, Rich, and I in our conversations, and then relaying the information on to the HR committee. We're reviewing and continuing to focus on the AIDS support staff group. Last year, for the 2021 year, the new matrix was created for all aides, and we're continuing to look at that group for the upcoming year. In addition, we're reviewing market comps for other support staff groups with the focus on starting wages. Through this targeted focus, we are hopeful that the district will be able to retain and attract staff. More information will be shared at the next HR committee meeting on May 17th.
Thank you, Chris. Any questions or comments about any of that? All right, next up is item D, discussion and possible action on 2021-22 teacher contracts.
Okay, within your board packet is a memo outlining the 21-22 teacher contracts. And on April 26, 2021, the Board of Education approved the district's collective bargaining offer to the Milton Education Association, which resulted in a base wage of 1.23%. The board also approved implementation of the teacher compensation model. And following the board approval at the last board meeting, the Payroll and Human Resources Department began updating contracts and salary explanations. So we have implemented the approved compensation plan and are now bringing that forth for your review. Within your board packet, you will see the list of teacher contracts, and in the executive notes, their compensation amounts. And also attached is a sample of what that teacher contract that will be shared with all teachers listed.
Thank you, Chris. Any questions, comments, or anything about that? I would like to make a motion to approve the 2021-22 teacher contracts as presented.
I'll second.
There's a motion on the floor made by Rick, seconded by Jen, to approve the 2021-22 teacher contracts as presented. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. And opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, and thank you, Rick. Moving on to item number 9, new business. Letter A is discussion and possible action on the boiler replacement project at the Milton High School, and I will turn it over to the capable hands of Stephen Shantz.
Thank you very much. As Rich alluded to earlier, this project is coming to the board as a possible use of ESSER funds, and I'll just give a real high-level overview of the documentation and materials that were provided in your board packet. And I know this is everyone's favorite late night topic, talking about boilers here. So just to give you a little bit of a background, the original scope of the referendum project, specifically for the high school, included reusing a lot of the building's original mechanical systems. Last fall, we came to the board asking to use referendum owner contingency funds to replace the circulating pumps and all the associated areas that they serve, and the board chose to proceed with that. That left one major piece of existing building infrastructure in place, and that's the main boiler plants in the original part of the building that are actually still original from when that building was constructed in 1963. So those have far exceeded their useful life. As outlined in your in the memo, the cost to do this project at this certain time will never be cheaper. Many of the costs or many of the benefits to do this right now include a lot of the economy and scale items that I've mentioned before, specifically like when we talk about adding on capital maintenance and improvement plan projects. Outlined in the memo too is, some estimated costs for inflation in the future for what you might expect to pay, say, 3 years down the road. The cost of the quote unquote rework that would have to be done for hooking up all our circulating pumps to the older boilers. If we had to redo that, there's a estimated cost associated with that. And also outlined is the annual energy savings for a much more efficient system that would be put in place behind this. Most importantly is what replacing these existing boilers would do to improve the high school's indoor air quality. The mechanical engineer on the project, Randy from Frederickson Engineering, put together a brief summary of the benefits that we would achieve by replacing these boilers with what we're proposing to do. You typically wouldn't think boilers and indoor air quality go hand in hand, but they definitely do with the modern day systems that are going in, specifically in our new additions and renovated areas of the building. And the overall cost of the project would be $561,000. This project total really does incorporate both the dollar amount that was previously approved for the circulating pumps and the boiler project as a whole, because the two are so closely tied together, you couldn't really consider one without the other. So the funding mechanism for this, the board's already approved $137,000 to go towards the circulating pump project. So that would leave $424,000 to potentially come from the federal one-time ESSER funds. Also, just for the board to consider too, this is definitely a project that would be focus on energy incentive eligible. And according to our focus on energy representative, without diving into the project specifics, equipment lists and all that good stuff, this project specifically would be eligible for up to a 10% incentive amount. So that outlines the project on a high level. If you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
I just have a quick comment. As you look at the total project, the overall expense, if you will, for the district is probably about $20,000 after you take over the leftover from the prior pumps, the ESSER funds, and the focus on energy grants that we would anticipate. Rich and I had a discussion on one question I had, and I say this supporting it. I had a question on a policy item just because it's a purchase over $250,000, and I had a question regarding a bid. And as I understand it, and Rich, correct me, or Stephen, correct me if I'm wrong, because Frederickson Engineering had put out 4 bids all of the underlying equipment. We covered the component of bids for the amount of the purchase. Did I summarize that correctly?
Very close. Competitive bids, this project as a whole was bid out competitively when JP Cullen bid out the whole project anyway. So the mechanical contractors and the other contractors that are subcontractors to Cullen, they're all the low bidders for the project. And what we would do in this instance is, this project would be designed, developed, it'd be sent out to JP Cullen and subcontractors for pricing. And then that pricing would be negotiated or vetted by our architect and engineering team to ensure that we are getting, the best price that's possible. And that, legally, that's, we don't have to specifically go up for that, but that's the process that we would take upon approval tonight.
Stephen, you said it would come out of ESSER funds. I'm assuming, would that be ESSER 3 because we just had the 3 funds, and because it's air quality, that would be the third category?
Correct. It would actually probably be eligible for ESSER 2, but I was trying to clarify 2 was focusing on the instructional piece, and then 3, we're looking to take advantage of those funds we'll have things in the future and really improve the indoor air quality and the safe and healthy environment.
Thanks. Okay, Mr. President, I will move to authorize Cullen and subcontractors on the Milton High School construction project to proceed with the main boiler replacement project with a not to exceed budget of $561,000.
I'll second.
There's a motion on the floor from Joe, seconded by Dave, to authorize JP Cullen and its subcontractors on the Milton High School construction project to proceed with the main boiler replacement project with a not to exceed budget of $561,000. Is there any discussion? Not hearing any. All in favor say aye. Aye. And opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you, Stephen, for all that information, putting that together. And moving on to 9B, discussion and possible action on 2021-22 Cesa 2 annual contract. Mrs. Probst, thank you for taking the podium again.
Thank you for having me again. This is your annual Cesa 2 report. There are 12 Cesas in the state of Wisconsin. We are in Cesa 2. Cesa 2 is the largest of the Cesas. There's actually 74 school districts that are served by this co-op. Most of the items on your sheet are optional, with the exception of the administrative cost, and that is charged to all 72 districts. I want to touch on just a couple of these, and then if you have any questions on the other ones, I'd be happy to talk about them. The Assistive Technology Academy and Library, items number 2 and 3. Our special education teachers use that resource. So the academy, we have 4 or 5 people who go to Cesa 2 a couple times a year, and they get to see the latest and the greatest technology for our students with disabilities. Then if we see something that we believe one of our students would benefit from through the library, we can borrow that for a period of time to see if it actually would benefit the student in being able to access curriculum and that learning piece. There's one item on there that's in parentheses, and that's on the second side. That's educational audiology. That is student-based, and so every student with a disability has an IEP, an individual education plan, and then if they have a hearing impairment and need audiology, that's where we contract from. We have teachers that we contract that are in special areas, but because we use audiology so little, we contract through the Cesa. There's one item on here that's a little bit larger than last year, and that's the membership cost. But Cesa 2 changed the way they charged. We used to get charged $750 a year for van delivery. So anything we borrowed from them, they would deliver to our district, but charged us for that. And there also was an additional lending library where we would borrow curriculum from them, and we would get charged a little over $4,000. Those 2 items are now included in the membership cost. So the overall cost is actually less, even though the membership cost is higher. This used to be Cesa 2 building, for those of you that didn't know that.
Mr. President, I'll make a motion to approve the 2021-22 Cesa 2 annual contract as presented.
I'll second that.
There's a motion on the floor made by Rick, seconded by Dave, to approve the 2021-22 Cesa 2 annual contract as presented. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. And opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you, Mrs. Probst. Next item is the 2021-22 board committees and the WASB delegates, as well as building representatives. Those things are in board docs. It should be no new news, but just for the record, there it is, as well as building reps. And just that list of, not responsibilities, but suggestions for being a building rep. Any questions about that? Awesome. We will move on to letter D, which is the 21-22 school board calendar. Thank you, Kim, for putting that in there with all the meetings for this next school year. So,
I'm going to note that we used to have the annual meeting at the end of September, and this year will be the end of August.
yes, thank you for pointing that out. All right, that's just for information. So we will move on to miscellaneous. Letter A is action on staffing reports. And Chris, you have a few words that you were going to say.
Absolutely. Just a note that
All right. It's good now? All right, cool. Still shows I'm muted. Okay. A teacher with 30 years of experience reached out to discuss retirement options. The teacher also asked if it would be possible to retire during the 21-22 school year instead of at the conclusion of the 21-22 school year. The HR department and the superintendent are considering this option because after reviewing the potential district needs for the 2021 and 2022 school year, we believe that there will be a need at the start of the school year for math intervention and supports at Northside for 4th, 5th, and 6th grade students. Meeting student needs at the start of the 21-22 year and the employee's desire to retire during the school year, both needs and desires align. This alignment brings us to offering the teacher a temporary contract from July 1st through October 31st. We will be bringing forth additional information regarding the 21-22 teacher staffing baseline at our May 24th board meeting. And if approved, the HR department will move forward with the posting of a 1.0 FTE the teacher will be vacating. So this is really a 0.26 contract, 0.26 of a year. The teacher is still at 1.0. It's just a shorter period of time. It comes out to 49 days instead of the 190.
So you're not getting rid of the position. You're just allowing that teacher to retire the way that they would like to because it meets the needs of the district. But then you're hiring somebody to finish out the rest of the year. I can't imagine our math intervention would end on October 31st.
And that is correct. But the teacher hasn't put in their retirement yet.
Sure.
So that we'll be looking towards August and September when we're looking at the rest of the staff.
Chris, has this been done in the past?
Looking back at my So yes.
So I'll make a motion then to approve the staffing reports as presented.
I'll second that.
There's a motion on the floor made by Leslie, seconded by Rick, to approve the staffing reports as presented. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. And opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Tukendorf. Letter B, action on gifts and donations. There are quite a few this time.
I'll make a motion to approve the gifts and donations with gratitude.
I'll second.
There's a motion on the floor made by Rick, seconded by Dave, to approve the gifts and donations with gratitude. All in favor say aye. Aye. And opposed, nay. Motion carries. Upcoming board and committee meetings, Mr. Dahl.
Yeah, a couple things to report on. A week from tonight, on Monday, May 17th, we have an HR committee meeting. It's 6:30 with a question mark after it, so we maybe have to verify with the HR committee that works for them, but that would be here at the PDC Monday the 17th at 6:30. For the HR committee members, does that date and time work?
That work, Jen? Should be all right. Yep, good, thank you.
All right. We have a benefits advisory group meeting on Wednesday, the 19th at 4:30. That will be a virtual meeting. So members of the HR committee are invited to attend that if they're available. That's again, Wednesday, the 19th, benefits advisory group at 4:30, and that's a virtual meeting. Our next regular board meeting is 2 weeks from tonight on May 24th here at the PDC at 6:30. And now that we have the updated committees, I'd like to schedule a meeting with the strategic planning committee. Jen is the chair, and Shelley and Dave are the other two members. If possible, either later this week or the early part of next week. Throw it as a possibility, since we have some folks coming in for the HR. I guess we don't, yeah, Jen, you're coming for the HR committee meeting. Would you be able to come prior to that HR committee meeting?
I can.
Maybe it is 5 o'clock on Monday, the 17th, available for Shelley and Dave? Was that a yes, Dave?
Yeah.
Okay. So Strategic Planning Committee on May 17th at 5 p.m. and we'll meet here in the PDC. And that is it for now for committee meetings.
Thank you. Before we adjourn, I'd like to say to all the administrators tonight, I know you all put in really long days, and so we really appreciate your attendance. Thank you for your support. We're a team here, and what we do is important, and you are noticed. So thank you for being here. And